Welcome to Talking with Santa on Waycross Community Media. I am Santa's helper, Dana, and I am here today in the Waycross studio with a very important guest. Now, we have guests in this studio in Waycross all year. We get to meet people from our local government, and we get to meet people from our local schools, and sometimes people from Columbus or Washington, but today, we have the most important guest we ever have in our studio. And we have been fortunate to have this guest in our studio for the last 20 years at Waycross. So let's stop teasing you and introduce you to who is in our studio. Santa himself and Mrs. Claus are here in our studio. Thank you so much for coming so far.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for inviting us every year. We certainly appreciate it. It's a lot of fun talking to all the boys and girls. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you invited us back. We're so glad to be here.
I am so glad that you're willing to come. We have had such a great time over the years getting to introduce different kids to you. Different kids over the years have had the chance to ask their question, what they want for Christmas, and ask you other questions that they've had, things they've always wondered. So we have some more of that tonight. We'll ask some more questions that are sent to us from kids. And if you are watching this program live, which is December 15th, if you're watching this live on December 15th, you can email your questions right here to the studio. If you have a question for Santa, now, you have to be 12 years old or less. No grown-up questions tonight. Tonight's questions are just for the kids. So if you're 12 years old or less, go ask your mommy or daddy or your babysitter or whoever you've got handy in the house that has an email account and ask them to send in your question. And if you send it to santa@waycross.org, I will get it here in the studio on my magical little device here, and I will be able to ask Santa your question. So if you have something you want to make sure Santa gets you for Christmas, or if you have something you've always needed to know about Santa, make sure, if you're watching live on December 15th, santa@waycross.org. Okay, got that?
Wonderful.
So hopefully we will get lots and lots of questions. Now, it's not very Christmas weather here in Cincinnati today.
Well, Dana, we were a little disappointed. We were hoping to find a little bit of snow and some colder weather because Santa with his big heavy suit and Mrs. Claus with her long dress, we sure like to have cool weather. But remember, up in the North Pole, it's plenty cold right now.
So you have just the right weather there.
Oh, it's perfect up there for Christmas time.
When you are traveling around in December, is it a problem if places don't have the North Pole kind of weather for you?
No, it's not really a problem. Mrs. Claus makes sure that I dress in layers so that if I get too hot, I can take some clothes off as long as it's red and the children can know that it's Santa Claus if they happen to see me.
Okay, excellent. So layers are key. Good to know. Okay, things we can learn from Santa Claus. This is important. We have some questions from some little kids that recorded them for us ahead of time. So let's take a look at some of those now, and we'll go one at a time so that we can give you a chance to answer their questions.
That sounds real good, Dana.
Now we have some volunteers. Let's see if they are ready. We have a question from Angela first. Let's take a look and see what Angela wants to know.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm 7 years old. I have a question for you. Do all Santa give presents to kids?
She wants to know if all the Santas she's ever seen, if they give presents to kids. Thank you, Angela, age 7, for that question.
Angela, thank you for asking us that question. That's very important. Santa is an extremely busy person with all the elves and all the helpers. We have helpers all over the world that make sure that we can try to visit all the children of the world. It's important that young children get to see some presents from Santa Claus.
So it's good that you asked that question, Angela, because now we know. It explains why we see these Santas all different places. Let's take another question. We have one from Ashiana, who is 8. Let's see if we are ready for Ashiana. Of course, our volunteers have to cue it up.
My name is Ashiana, and I'm 8 years old, and I want to know from Santa, do you live in the North Pole or the South Pole?
Santa Claus lives in the North Pole.
Okay, so that was an easy one. Thank you. Thank you, Ashiana, for that question. That North Pole or South Pole? Now we know. Now we know. So let's go to Adriana's question. Adriana?
Hello, I'm Adriana, and I'm 5 years old, and I want to know from Santa how many reindeer do you have?
Oh, Adriana. Mrs. Claus will help me out with that question because she helps the elves keep track of the reindeer and make sure they get fed properly.
Well, we have thousands of elves and thousands of reindeer. And every elf takes care of reindeer also. And we take care of them with the stables and let them graze, and they're all over the North Pole. So, and we keep track of them by keeping track of our elves. And I do all of that work myself.
You really are the CEO. You're keeping track of a lot of people talk about Santa a lot, but little do people realize, Mrs. Claus, you're not just baking cookies, although baking cookies is very important.
That is very, very important.
We're glad you're baking cookies.
Mrs. Claus always keeps Santa Claus on the straight and narrow. She makes me do the things that I have to get done, and then it's time to play afterwards.
Well, that's good that there's playtime in there too. I want to see if we can queue up another one because we have another question, and this one is from someone much younger. This is from Ahana, and let's see if we can get Ahana's question queued up for us. Okay, so
Hi, Ahana. I don't think everybody understood what you said, but I sure know what you mean. I'm going to make sure that I can bring you all the little things that you'd like to have for Christmas. You sure are a cute little thing, and we want to make sure that you get happy at Christmas. But we won't tell anybody what the secret is that you were trying to tell me.
aha, so Santa speaks baby.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Ah,
There's nobody that Santa can't understand.
that's true.
Okay, that's important. I'm glad we figured that out. All right, we have some brothers here, and they each have a question in this next clip. Let's see if we can cue that one.
Hi, my name is Sami. And my name is Sarah. We're 7 years old. And my question is, how many elves do you have working for you? And my question is, how much coals do you give out to people that are bad?
Okay.
Claus, you want to answer the elves question again?
Yes, I think if you were listening, I hope you were. We were talking about the reindeer, and I mentioned we have thousands of reindeer and thousands of elves, and I keep track of all of them for Santa.
So there's a lot more that we can just you're not going to name them all for us right now.
Oh, not right now.
That would take the
No.
whole show. We would have no more questions.
We sure wouldn't have enough time to do that. But now the second part of that question, how do I know how much coal to give bad children or children that deserve to get coal? Well, that's a little shaky subject. And we try to not emphasize the amount of coal that we do. Our goal is to make sure that the children know that there are things that they're supposed to do and things that they should do. And the coal thing just reinforces the thought that the children should behave themselves.
Okay, so we're not going to give you a specific number, but you've had your answer. Hopefully you're watching now and you got your answers to that. Now, Santa, before we do another video question, I have an email question here from Davis. Davis is 8, and Davis says, Hi, Santa. Did you get Mima's message about the fact that we will be in Texas this year for Christmas? We want to get our presents when we get home from our trip. Thanks, Santa.
Davis, we get all those messages, especially the ones that come from Mimas, because Mimas really know what's going on in the world. And we know where the children are going to be from Christmas time, before Christmas, during Christmas, and after Christmas. Don't be surprised if you get some presents in Texas, but there should be some presents waiting for you when you get home from Texas.
Okay, so Santa's got it. Santa knows what's coming. And thank you for your question, Davis. I appreciate your email. If you are watching this program while we are live on December 15th, you can email your question to Santa just like Davis did. Send it to santa@waycross.org, and I will get it here right in the studio, and I will be able to ask Santa for you. So if you're watching it live on December 15th, we can do that. We have another one here that's a video clip. I'm going to give our volunteers a second to cue it because we want to hear from Saugat, who is 5 years old.
My name is Saugat and I'm 5 years old. I have a question for Santa Claus. What's your favorite reindeer?
You know, sometimes it's nice to think that you've got a favorite reindeer, but Saga, I'm not so sure that it's always a good thing to do that. If you play favorites to one reindeer over the other, they might get a little upset and not very happy with Santa and Mrs. Claus. So I'm not so sure that I have a favorite, but I'm very fond of Rudolph and some of the other ones that work very hard all year long. And all the reindeer know that we take good care of them and that we try not to play favorites.
But I will tell you that Comet is the fastest, and every race they have, he always wins.
He earned that name then.
Yes, yes, he did.
Okay. But I suppose if they found out one was your favorite, they might not work together as well.
Well, that's probably the case. You know, people get their feelings hurt. I'm sure the reindeer get their feelings hurt too. The important thing to do is treat everybody the right way. Treat people the way that you would like to be treated.
That's important. And we don't know if reindeer, can you tell us if the reindeers watch Waycross Community Media? They might be watching this right now.
Well, I told them to make sure that they got their work done first, and to make sure that they got to bed on time. You know, up in the North Pole, it's pretty late already. So maybe they're watching, but I don't think they'll tell me when I get back up there. I think they'll probably keep it a secret.
They won't tell. Well, we won't tell, reindeer. We won't. If you're watching right now, I'll keep your secret. And if you are a kid, an actual human kid watching this and not a reindeer, then you can send your email to Santa, santa@waycross.org, if you're watching it while we're live on December 15th. I don't think you should send emails if you are a reindeer, because that will give away that you're watching and not going to bed on time. But the rest of you, you're fine. You can send an email. We have one more of the video questions, and this one is from Samantha. And Samantha has a question too.
Hi, my name is Samantha, and I'm 9 years old, and I want to ask a question. How many presents can you deliver? That's my question.
That's a real tough question. We try to make sure that everybody gets some presents. I try to follow the list that children want, but we can't always give children what they want. Sometimes it's more than they should have, or it's something that it's not good for them. But there are a lot of presents, and the important thing is that all the Santa's helpers take some of the load, and some of the presents are delivered by the Santa helpers also.
Okay, so we don't have a specific number of pounds or tonnage that your sleigh delivers, or maybe like a count of 2,000 gifts per hour, or.
Well, my favorite answer to this question is, how many gifts does Santa deliver? And the answer is all of them.
Okay, fair enough. All of them. Samantha, it's all of them. That's how many that's his answer. That's how many gifts he can deliver. Thank you to Angela and Ashiana and Adriana and Ahana and Samir and Saurav and Sogat and Samantha for sending us your questions ahead of time so we had them. And thank you to Davis for emailing one. And if you're watching and you're thinking, but I have a question too, well then you should definitely email it. So santa@waycross.org, but only if you're watching live on December 15th. Okay, let's ask you some more questions.
I'm ready, Dana.
I want to know if you decorate. We took some time to decorate in our studio.
It looks beautiful.
And why, thank you. We have wonderful volunteers that help us with this. Do you decorate the North Pole for Christmas, or do your decorations stay up all the time?
Our decorations stay up all of the time. We have very good cleaning people, and they make sure that everything is dusted and polished, but everything stays up all year.
That's a good point. If we left these up all year, they would get kind of, not that we're not cleaning here at Waycross, but
Well, we've got some special systems and special people up there to help us do the cleaning, so it makes it easier for us. But leaving your decorations up all year long down here is not an easy thing to do.
now that would, I guess we would need special North Pole magic to keep them fresh.
Yes.
I think Mrs. Claus might want to tell you what some of her favorite decorations are.
I kind of like going with some of the trends, and right now they have the gnomes, and I have gnomes all over the North Pole because I like some of the trends, but I also love to have many Santa Clauses, my stuffed Santas around.
Fair enough. I could see why you might be fond of Santa Clauses. But gnomes, that's interesting. How do the elves feel about these little gnome people? Do they feel like they're friends?
They
or?
love them. They think they're wonderful. Oh, yes. Oh, the elves on the shelves go crazy about these trends. And they send messages to me, and they love to see me decorating.
So you brought up the elves on the shelves, and a lot of the kids watching our programs have an elf on the shelf somewhere in their house. What would you say to kids that have those elves? Are you getting reports from them? Are they good reports?
Well, the elves tell us a lot about the children and the different houses that they're at. The elves make sure that they know when the children have been extra good. They know when the children are doing all their homework. They know when the children are cleaning their rooms and when they're helping their mothers. And we get a lot of good reports from the elves. The thing that I have a problem with is sometimes the elves want to play tricks on Santa Claus the same way they play tricks on the children where they're living. That's a tough thing sometimes.
So what kind of tricks does an elf play on a Santa Claus? Or can you tell us where they get in trouble?
One of the things they like to do is hide. And then Santa has to go looking all over and call for them. And the rest of the elves are laughing and having a good time at Santa's his problem while he's trying to find the elf.
Aha. So if anyone's having a hard time finding their elf on the shelf, you're not the only one.
Well,
sometimes Santa has to.
The other thing that the elves do is when they communicate, they try to use the most modern technology. Santa likes the old method because he's been using it for years and years. But the elves are way up on modern technology. They send me a lot of stuff on, I think they call it emails. They send me emails and texts. And what some of the elves do is they try to type everything backwards just to make sure that Santa gets confused. But real tricky Santa Claus, he holds it up to a mirror and he can read it just as plain as day.
Aha. So does email in the North Pole stand for elf mail?
It sure does now.
It does.
sure
It does
does
now. You heard it here on Waycross.
Yeah.
Email stands for elf mail, and because of that, we have some elf mail right here from Henry, who is 5, and David, who is also 5.
Wait a
and
minute,
Clara.
Henry and David. Is that the same Henry and David that lives in Michigan?
Well, that is the next thing that this elf mail says. It says they live in Michigan.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful.
Wow.
Santa knows. Santa knows where you are. Okay, so this is what their email says. It says, so it's from Henry. Just want to make sure I said everyone's name. Henry and David and Clara. So I don't think I got your name
Claire
in
is
there.
the new little baby sister. I remember her name just got added to the book.
Oh, new updates. Okay. Their email says, thank you for the foosball table and the Oregon jersey you brought us last year. A few questions. What country do you start delivering gifts in? Good question.
Well, I think it's not really a country, but there's a few people that live in the North Pole and the surrounding edge of the North Pole. And we always start there, and we pretty much go around in a circle around the whole world and come down. So we pretty much start on the northern hemisphere. I think Henry and David probably understand the term northern hemisphere, because I think Henry and David are pretty scientifically oriented.
Okay. It sounds like are you making a spiral down around the earth there?
Make a spiral down around the earth, and it seems to work a pretty good system. When I quit one area, the other Santa helper picks up a different area, and we just make sure that we hit every house that we can possibly hit, and I don't think we've ever left any out.
So you have backup. That
Oh,
helps.
we've got a lot of backup.
Okay,
Got
that's
a lot
good
of
to know.
backup.
Here's another one of their questions. They want to know if you have heard their college football podcast this year.
I've seen their college football podcast. They have a lot of fun doing that. These young men really take their sports serious. And their dad kind of monitors what they're doing and puts it out to the people that want to see it. And it's a very interesting thing. They've got some good comments about some of the teams. I don't know that Santa can pick a favorite team like they do, like Oregon or Michigan or Ohio State. I don't know that Santa can do that because he likes all the teams.
Yeah, and I will say our studio here is in Ohio, so we have to be very careful about what college teams we talk about. But it's good to know that Santa's not going to pick a favorite. Santa's going to deliver presents to fans of all of those teams. This is important to know. And I'm going to say to Henry and David, if you guys are making a podcast now, I'm looking forward to seeing what kinds of things you can do as you get bigger and bigger.
I'd like to know which one of those little boys, Henry or David, treats Clara the best. I think they're both very proud of their new little sister, but I'm sure they're both very nice to Clara.
They have one more question, and it's a question I have too. They would like to know, and this is important for kids everywhere who are getting ready to put out a plate on Christmas Eve. They would like to know, what is your favorite cookie?
Oh, Santa Claus likes chocolate chip cookies a lot, and he likes sugar cookies a lot, but Mrs. Claus will probably have a better answer. Which one do you bake the most?
All of them. Santa loves any kind of cookie, any kind of treat. He is always ready to have something to eat.
Okay, so there's no wrong cookie.
There's no
No
wrong
wrong
cookie.
cookies.
And Henry and David, I'd like to bet you a cookie that University of Cincinnati, if they get 10 points, might beat Alabama.
Okay,
Oh,
we have a Santa prediction.
he's going out on a limb.
I'll say Santa's a man in red. University of Cincinnati, red. So he may not be picking teams, but we've got a team color here. May have to go with that. Of all the questions that you get from emails and from letters, things that kids have asked Santa for, are there any that stand out in your memory?
There's quite a few that stand out in my memory, but I think some of them are extremely personal questions that kids ask for. And I think that the thing that really impresses me is when the children ask for somebody else to get something that they're wishing for them. And that really impresses Santa Claus. And I look forward to getting those letters. I hate to see that some children need more help than others, but it's so good to see children watch out for each other. Mrs. Claus, do you want to add something to that?
No, I think that is the spirit of Christmas, and it would bring tears to your eyes to hear some of the requests. It really is unreal.
It's a really special thing for a kid to be asking for something for someone else.
Someone
Yeah,
else.
and this year we're getting a lot of those requests because of the tornadoes that went through down in Kentucky and Arkansas and in Missouri, Indiana. We're seeing children asking for stuff for other children, not necessarily for themselves, but things for Christmas for other children. And that's so heartwarming to see that.
That actually reminds me of Davis's question, that you know, because Davis's Mima made sure you knew that he wasn't going to be at his house on Christmas. There are some kids that aren't sure, they're not in their regular spot. Can Santa cover that? Santa knows where to find everyone?
Well, yeah, we know where to find everyone. The elves put a lot of help into this. They're keeping track of the children, trying to know and find out where they're going to be. Sometimes at the last minute there's a little bit of a mess up, but usually it gets rectified pretty quick. So we stayed pretty tuned in. It's a lot easier now that we have the computers and the iPads and other electronic devices.
What kind of requests are you getting the most this year? It seems like there's something new that's really popular every year. Last year, Baby Yoda, Grogu. Everybody had to have one. They're adorable. I don't blame them. Are you hearing anything in particular this year?
I don't think one thing sticks out more than anything else this year. A lot of the children want the superheroes.
Yep.
A lot of the children still want the Disney characters, but it's still pretty much a broad spectrum of things that the children are asking for.
I'd say Legos are still very, very popular. They just, all kinds of Lego items.
I know I'm a Santa's helper, so I'm not really a grown-up here. But I still love Legos, so I understand that. Legos are always fun. And if you are also a little bit bigger than a kid and still like Legos, I understand that.
Well, there's one more important thing to remember about Legos. Always pick the Legos up, because there's nothing worse than stepping on a Lego
Ouch.
in your bare or stocking feet.
Yes, that's important. If you have Legos and you don't want them to magically disappear, you should probably make sure that they're not someplace where someone can step on them in bare feet. Because if they hurt people in your household, you might suddenly find that you can't find them anymore. Yeah, that's important.
And some of those things come in big fancy kits and everything, but some of the most important pieces that I've ever seen are kids that made things out of Legos from their own memory, things that they just created themselves. It didn't have to be a special Lego set. It was something that they created themselves.
It's such a good toy for that.
It is.
Let me ask you then, Santa and Mrs. Claus, when you were little, before you were busy being the whole world Santa and Mrs. Claus, what did you play with? Did you play with Legos?
No, I don't think we had a lot of Legos. We had a lot of toys that we made ourselves. We made wooden cars that we played with. We made stick people out of broomsticks, and we rolled wheels back and forth. So the toys weren't near as sophisticated as they are now. They were a lot more made-up things than there are now.
Yes, and when we were very little, we always had our baby dolls, and that was something that I loved. And I think that they're still very popular with the little girls, and some little boys love they have their little comfy toys. Mm-hmm.
It's such a good practice for being a new brother or sister or any of that stuff. So yeah, absolutely. I do have a question that I think is really important that kids might be wondering. Is it too late? It's December 15th. Is it too late to get off the naughty list if you're already on the naughty list? And I feel like some folks know if they're on the naughty list.
Yes. It's never, ever too late because everybody gets a second chance. And we like to cut that naughty list down to nothing by Christmas because we know all the boys and girls really try to be good. It's just sometimes that they have a little bit of an off day.
Okay, so that's important news. It's not too late to get off the naughty list. If you are watching this and it's December 15th, you have 10 days to get off the naughty list. It's not too late. That's important news. Some kids might think, why bother trying if they think it's too late. So we want to make sure we cover that every.
It's never too late to try. It's never too late to try. Just keep doing your best, and sooner or later, you'll make it right off the list.
Now, we know you're getting reports from the elves on the shelves. Not every house has an elf in it, or at least not one that we could see. How are you getting reports on the other kids?
Well, that works pretty much the same way as the elf on the shelf. The elf on the shelf's the easiest one because the elf's in the house. But all the other elves that aren't in houses, they can still look through windows. They can still monitor what children are doing in school. They can do anything that they want. They just can't go inside the house. But they give us some really good reports. They tell us when the children are getting really good grades in school. They tell us when kids are doing things in school they shouldn't do. So there's a lot of elves. It's not just the ones that are in the shelf. It's the ones that look after the children all the time.
Okay, that's good to know because some kids might wonder, well, I don't have that one particular elf that's causing mischief on my shelf every day. That means you're still getting reports. Santa's still finding out how good you are, and that's important. He still knows when you get good grades and when you're nice to your little sister and all of those things. And sometimes it's hard to be nice to your little sister. So that's important. You want that reported. So we already talked about your favorite Christmas cookies, and the answer, of course, was all of them. And I agree with that answer. That's a great answer. Let's talk about some of the other Christmas things. Do you have favorite Christmas movies?
Santa always likes the real old Christmas movies. I don't know why that is. I think it's because it's some of the first ones that I had ever viewed, and I like the old Christmas. Miracle on 42nd Street was always one of my favorite. Always one.
What about It's a Wonderful Life? Do you like that one too?
That was the one I was going to say.
I stole your answer.
I love that.
I think Mrs. Claus likes the old movies where there's a lot of snow too, and I think she likes that movie a lot because I think there's a lot of dancing in that movie.
The 42nd Street.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, anything where there's a lot of dancing, that's good too.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. We just got another question to my elf mail, and this is also important. This question is it too late to mail a letter to Santa? And what is Santa's address? How can someone get a letter to Santa?
Well, the best way to get a letter to Santa is to just write on the front of the envelope and write it in a red pen or crayon if you can. Put Santa Claus, North Pole. And if you leave that lay on the table, well, you can put it in the mailbox if you want to, but if you leave it lay on the table, the elves will come through and figure out a way to get the letter to Santa Claus, because it's never too late. And sometimes, the last minute is a good thing, but it's never too late.
Okay, so we're getting close, but if you have a letter and you haven't written it to Santa yet, or you haven't mailed it yet, take your red crayon now and write Santa, North Pole on there, and make sure you leave that on the table for your elves to find.
Or you can ask your parents or the tech-savvy person in the house to just email us or send us a text.
Exactly. Now, if you're watching this live on December 15th, there's still time to send Santa an email and ask him what you want. And you can ask him a question, but you can also ask him for the toy that you want too in this email. So feel free. It's santa@waycross.org, and I will get that right here on the elf mail pad, and we'll be able to ask him your question right here in the studio. So if you want the fastest way to get a message to Santa, I can do that right here. Otherwise, take your crayon, write on that envelope, and you can do that too.
Good idea.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Okay, so we covered Christmas movies. We covered Christmas cookies. What about Christmas carols?
Any Christmas carol is my favorite when it's being sung. I love them all, and I love for people to sing and rejoice at Christmas time. Any carol.
Santa Claus really doesn't have a favorite one either. Santa Claus likes the ones where they occasionally go, ho, 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 because that's my best voice.
That's important. So, do you like to listen to the Christmas carols, or do you like to sing the Christmas carols?
So we do both. We like, Santa doesn't have the best voice in town, but he loves to sing also. So we just turn the volume up a little bit, and we let him sing along.
The best time for Santa to sing is when he's in his sled delivering presents, because nobody can hear him.
That's true. How fast are you going to get all of those presents delivered in one night?
Well, we don't really have a speedometer on the sleigh, but we're going fast enough that we can get everything done within about a 20-hour period.
Well, let's see. It looks like I'm getting some emails. We have someone is letting our elf mail know that someone is letting the elf mail know that you get to take advantage of the technology. I'm sure your elves are helping with the technology. That houses now, some houses have a Ring camera on their door, or an Alexa or a Google Home in the house, and so your elves can kind of cheat a little bit and take advantage of those too.
Exactly.
Well, yes. The elves, and I tell them not to do this, but they hack into those cameras, and if they don't have their own camera, they hack into the ones that are at the house, and they get some information. But I tell them not to do that. But you know how elves will be elves.
So they're not supposed to,
Exactly.
but they are mischievous.
Definitely.
Oh yes.
So even though they're your elves, they're still sort of doing their own thing.
You're right. There's no better way to say it. They do their own thing.
Do you ever have real difficulty with the elves? Do they focus more when it gets close to Christmas, or is it harder to make them focus?
No, they are very focused at Christmas time. It's the rest of the year that they like to be very mischievous.
Oh, okay.
Well, Mrs. Claus takes extremely good care of the elves. She makes sure that they get a balance of everything that they need. They eat well, they have good snacks, they have healthy snacks, they have cookies when sometimes they want cookies. They get computer time, they get training time, school time. It's just a well balanced. You can't do one thing all the time and expect to be the way you're supposed to be. You need a balance of things to do.
Okay, that's good to know, because we picture our elves just up there banging out a toy all year long, but they're not. They're doing a whole world of different things throughout the year.
Yeah, just the other day, they had a snowball fight that was so busy that it looked like it was snowing snowballs. I mean, there were so many snowballs going back and forth. So they just take some time out, have a good time, and then they get back to work, just like other people do.
I wish we had Waycross camera footage of that snowball fight.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be tremendous.
We do have an email from a little boy whose name is Chip, and he just wants cookies. I think he heard us talking about cookies. It's good to know you're watching. Do you think Chip can share cookies with Santa, or do you think you should get?
I think, yeah, Chip would share his cookies. I think he's probably on his way to get a couple dozen cookies now, so that he can drop them off here and share them with Santa and Mrs. Claus and Dana. But you never know. But Chip's a great cookie eater.
You know, that's good too. That's a good point. It never hurts to do nice things for Santa when it's before Christmas. Never hurts. Remember, we're coming back to it's not too late to get off the naughty list. We've covered that already too.
Yeah, but you don't want to wait until just Christmas time. Be nice to people all the time. That's the important part. Always treat the people the way you want to be treated.
We talked about that kids. There are some kids in Kentucky that don't have their same house that they're going to be in Christmas this year, and that reminds me that there is a way that kids and grown-ups and people that are not Santa can be a little bit Santa-like and can be a helper too. Is that something that you think will make them feel more Christmas?
Well, it always makes people feel. Mrs. Claus, you want to talk about how good it makes people feel when they help other folks?
There is nothing in this world like sharing with others, and that is totally what the Christmas spirit is. And if at all possible, we might ask if children talk to their moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and ask them if they could possibly support the folks from these that are involved in these disasters, especially for the children at Christmas time. $1 is all. I mean, if that's what you have and that's what you can give. I heard, because we're around here so much now, that some of the military folks, the Legions and the Eagles, and all of those groups are getting together and sending money to the states that have been affected, to the cities that have been affected within the states, in Kentucky and all of the other areas that have been hit, especially at Christmas with those tornadoes.
Yeah, there's all different types of charitable organizations. There's churches, there's ministries, various other organizations, social organizations in the cities that are glad to take some help from the people that want to make donations or contributions or food or clothing. And it's just such a good thing to do if it's possible to do.
And it's a way for us to be Santas too.
That's the way.
We can be givers.
To me, the most important thing is that you do something nice for somebody. It's not important to know or to have them know that it was you that did something nice for them. It was important that you did something nice for them and you feel good about helping them.
That's great. Well, thank you for talking about that a little bit, because I think that we forget that we can do the giving. And when we talk to you, we talk a lot about how you do the giving. You do all kinds of giving, but we can use that as an example, and we can do some of that giving too.
Yeah. Dana, I think we should talk a little bit about the Christmas spirit this year that we didn't all get to share last year because of the pandemic crisis that we had. I think old people got hurt the most by the pandemic because they didn't get to see their children, they didn't get to see their grandchildren. It was catastrophic from the standpoint of the children and their relationships with their parents and their grandparents. One of the things that I always tell the children to do is hug your mom and dad every chance you get, hug your grandma and grandpa every chance you get, and be nice to everybody in the world. So it's important, and we'll have to make up for it this year because we missed being on television last year. We just couldn't get the hookups and the feeds to work right, so we had to skip last year. But every year in the future, we hope that everybody does what they're supposed to do and that they get this pandemic under control as best as possible.
And that's true. Last year was the first time in 20 years that we didn't have you here in the studio, which we were all being safe, and that was fine. But that means we all have twice as many hugs saved up, and we have twice as many cookies to eat. Can we do that too?
That's okay. That's okay. We can do that.
Yes. Okay. I've put it out there. Let me ask you this. When it's not Christmas, when you're all done and you get to go back, what do you do the next day?
Well, Santa usually just sits in his big old chair, puts his legs and feet up on the hassock, and sits there and thinks about all of the different things that children are doing on Christmas Day. And he's happy that he could visit all the children and all the old people, and it's just a relaxing time for me. Now, Mrs. Claus, she doesn't get off so easy. She has to work a lot harder on Christmas Day.
Santa does like to sit in his easy chair, and Santa does like to take a little nap during the football games.
We're back to football.
He tries to stay awake, and he does think a lot about all that's been going on, but he does get tired, and he does nap.
I would think after that night of work that a nap would be justified. Now, when you're done recuperating from that incredibly busy night of delivering, what do you do when you have vacation time?
Well, we try to make sure that we take at least a couple of weeks every year, and Mrs. Claus usually gets to pick the things that we do for our vacations. And several years ago, she did a place that was warm. She never does a place that's cold. She's cold all year long.
Fair
Mrs.
enough.
Claus, do you have a place picked out this year that we might go?
I do, but I'm keeping that a secret
Oh, okay.
until later.
That's probably
That's fair. We don't want all the kids to come sneak over and find you there.
No,
That's smart.
he needs some time off.
we managed to get some time to ourselves. And the elves are really glad to see us go.
So what's going on at the North Pole when no one is there to keep an eye on the elves? Or the
Go
reindeer?
ahead, Mrs. Claus.
We have elves that are a little older,
Okay.
and they do step in when needed, and they would be like your babysitters are,
Okay.
and they would report to Santa and Mrs. Claus if there was anything amiss.
Okay. So you have elves that are more responsible than, say, me,
Yes.
keeping an eye on them. Thanks for agreeing with that. Keeping an eye on them. That's important to know. And, important for the other elves to remember that someone is keeping an eye on them.
Keeping an eye. That's right.
When you were little and you weren't Mrs. Claus yet and you weren't everybody Santa Claus yet, what were the things that made you become this? What were the things that made you think, oh, I think I'm going to do this. I want to give presents to everybody.
Well, I can remember this was back in the Middle Ages. That's how long ago it was. I had more stuff than I really needed. And I looked around and I saw all the people around me that were needy. And I just thought it would be nice to share some of the things that were available to me but not to them. So I began sharing food, and I began sharing clothes, and I began sharing all different types of things that people might need. And it just was such a good feeling. And I do it at nighttime, so they didn't know where it came from. And I still had a good feeling. So that's one of the things that encouraged me, and it just went on and on from there.
Okay, I like that, because kids, if you want to play at being Santa Claus and you want to practice and see if you would make a good Santa Claus, then that's the secret. We heard how you can start and practice, is that you can leave people gifts and don't tell them who did it. See if they can just enjoy the present, and you get to watch them enjoy that. That sounds like a good thing that kids can practice doing.
It's a fun thing to do, and the children will get a good feeling from doing it.
So, is it possible for a kid to plan working for Santa Claus as maybe a career goal? Could they maybe sign up to be an elf or some other kind of assistant at the North Pole?
You know, we get that question a lot. A lot of the children will send us letters or send us emails, and they'll say, you know, how can I be an elf? Well, I'm not so sure it's real easy to be an elf, but it's always easy to be an elf and a Santa helper. I says to myself, I says, you got to make sure that you enjoy doing things for other people. And if you enjoy doing things for other people, then there's a good chance that you'll end up being a Santa helper.
Okay, and a lot of your helpers, are all of your helpers at the North Pole, or are some of your helpers helping you right down here?
Oh, no, there's a lot of them down here. Mrs. Claus, you probably don't even know the number, but you've got all their names in the computer, don't you?
Oh, definitely, yes. And our elves help me with all of the computer work as well. They have been trained very well.
Excellent, excellent. I know that Email the Elf used to be here, right here in the studio, and Email is one of your biggest technical assistants at the North Pole. As a matter of fact, he's so busy helping now that he can't even come down and host anymore. So he's just busy keeping everything going up at the North Pole.
Yes,
But
and
you
he
know-
was great.
He is great. You know, one of the things that Email was so happy about is when we got off that book system with writing everything down and got into the computer. Boy, that made life so much easier for Email. He didn't have to haul this book out of the warehouse into this Santa shop and then back and forth. So he really likes the technology, and he's done extremely well with keeping us up in technology.
Yes, and I'm sure. Now, do you keep those records year to year? Could you go and see who was naughty and nice in 1956?
Oh, we can go back farther than that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go back farther than that.
Now, I always wonder, because you watch Christmas movies, and of course, every Christmas movie has their own version of Santa, and I'm sure some of them are more accurate than others. There's one movie that says it helps your sleigh if people sing with the Christmas spirit. Would it help you if a lot of people were planning to sing on Christmas Eve?
I think it would help Santa a lot. We have always a song fest as he's leaving. I mean, everybody's singing, and everybody's cheering the reindeer and Santa and the sled on so that they can have a good start. And when people are singing songs, that's the best that we can ask for.
You know, the whole thing about Christmas is the spirit of Christmas. Mrs. Claus, can you explain spirit a little better than I can do that?
I think you have shown the spirit through the years, and it is, as we were talking before, it's the spirit of giving and the spirit of love, the spirit of peace, and having a kindness toward everyone that you touch, everyone that is near, everyone in your zone.
Okay, so that spirit, we can express the spirit of Christmas while we're singing, but it's not just the singing. It's how we treat the people that are around us and the way that we can give and love and do things for them. And giving, does giving have to be great big things, or can giving be little things?
Giving can be anything. Some of my favorite gifts that I get are pictures from the young children when they color out of a coloring book and make it look just like Santa Claus, or they make it look like Rudolph, or they make it look like Mrs. Claus. It's the thought behind the gift. It's not the gift that makes you happy.
Okay, so pictures.
Pictures.
Do you like to find pictures with the cookies on Christmas Eve?
Oh, yes. Yes. It helps us to know what kind of things the children are thinking about. And the cookies are really important, but the pictures are very nice.
And we do have some of the elves working on Christmas Day because they love to do it. They take the pictures that were made for Santa and they put them on the Christmas trees all around the North Pole.
So little kids that made you pictures, they can know that those pictures are now decorations at Santa's actual North Pole. That's exciting.
Right, right.
So we're getting close to the end. I am kind of wondering, in case kids are worried, if there's terrible, terrible weather on Christmas Eve, do you have a plan so they don't have to worry?
We've always got a backup plan in case there's bad weather, and a lot of it helps because we have a lot of magic in that Christmas bag. So we always manage to get things done, even though the weather might not be the best.
And you always count on Rudolph to lead your other reindeer when it's very bad out.
Okay, so we know that Rudolph will help you, but also you have a bag full of magic. That's important to know too. We are almost to the end. Is there anything special you would like to make sure the kids remember?
Only to show the spirit of Christmas all year long. And we love all of you and know that you can be very good.
Okay.
And make sure that you love your friends and relatives and especially your family. Show kindness to everyone.
And we learned that all of us can be givers, even if we're giving a picture or a hug or anything like that. All of us can be givers just like Santa. I want to thank you so much for making time to visit us again.
Dana,
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
love,
having us.
We
It
love
was a
to
wonderful time.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the questions from all the boys and girls.
I want to also, thank those kids that sent in their questions. Some of them videoed their questions, some of them elf mailed their questions, and we got them all in there. Thank you for being part of the show. I want to thank our special volunteer crew because those volunteers are the reason that we could use television magic and get on the air. And I want to thank all of you who are watching. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Christmas to spend some time listening to what Santa has to say. That's important. I'm Santa's helper, Dana, and all of us wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho!
Oh, Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a wonderful time.